Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with another scrapbooking process video, and this is for Mercy Tiara's 27-day Scrappy Challenge YouTube's Winter Inspiration Series. That's a mouthful. So I've already done a couple of these you would have seen last month. This one is another mood board challenge. Moira picks the best mood boards. I say this every single time, but I always get really excited when she picks them because I always get so much inspiration. So last month you saw me use the green mood board. This month in the beginning you saw me use that one, which is very, like, I don't know, springy, I guess. Lots of like soft pastels, but at the same time brighter colors, if that makes sense. Like a lot of nice pinks and oranges and aquas. So I went straight to those specific papers within this kit. I picked this kit before I saw these mood boards, so it was very convenient that I felt like that particular mood board screamed this collection. This is actually the third layout using my How to Kill a Kit with Style this month, but it's the first one you're seeing because the first two are for hops that are later on in the month. So that's why I already kind of have some scraps for this one. So I'm just trying to use the scraps I already have to do my layers for this. So I pretty much just picked the 12 by 12s, whatever went best with my mood board. And then from there, I'm just trying to use what I already have to kind of get the layers down. So because I'm kind of using this aqua background as the matte, which the B-side for that I actually don't end up using, but I have that I gutted, and then I'm using this chevron, and then the back of a chevron is pretty much the same color scheme, but a polka dot, an ombre polka dot, so at least I'll have a scrap from that to use later on the page. But I'm pretty much just getting my layers now down. I know I wanted a pretty thick matte of this aqua around the edge, just so that color was really there, because I have this kind of pink and orange chevron that's going to be the main layer that's going to kind of draw your eye immediately. But I wanted to make sure this blue kind of had a big enough presence to really do the mood board justice. So I'm just gutting that really quick before I place the chevron over top. And from there, it's pretty much a game of how can I use these scraps to make layers. So I already have this scrap of this orange diamond print that I'm planning to map both of these photos in, but it wasn't quite long enough, so you see there's a gap in the middle there. So I'm just planning on there being a banner or a layer or embellishments there at some point to cover that gap. And then I have a scrap of this kind of geometric ombre, teal, and aqua scrap that I'm going to have more vertically going behind this orange, because the orange does kind of blend in with this chevron. So I wanted a blue piece to kind of separate those. So I'm kind of just alternating these more orangey and pink layers with the blue, but I think that really helps bring that mood board to life. I can really see, even though there's not really any of the icons from the mood board in this page, I can see the colors beautifully translated. So I was excited about that. I just felt like these papers went so well with the mood board Moira picked. But here is the B-side to the chevron. I had a scrap of this ombre polka dot that's in the color scheme. So I'm just spreading that banner out behind the photos to cover that gap of that orange scrap. This is kind of how I plan to deal with that. And I'm still gutting because, like I said, even though this is the first page you're seeing, it's the third one going in. And I'm already going through this kit pretty fast. I think it's because last month I had so much paper to work with. Now that I kind of have a smaller kit this month, I'm going through it really fast, and I kind of have to slow myself down a little bit. But I think it's working out okay. I'm just happy I'm using more papers together this month than I normally do. Usually when I have a smaller kit, I'll only use like maybe 2 papers together and then scraps. This month I think I've been doing pretty good. Maybe it's because the pages are double-sided, but getting multiple pattern papers on a page and not just using 2. So that's been fun and different for me, but I'm trying to not shy away from using lots of different patterns together. But I'm getting this banner tucked down here. I'm planning on the right side being a little longer just because I want these photos to kind of be more on the left side of the page, but that means I can branch out more to the right to kind of build out layers that way. But I do think I ended up scooching it in a little more. I ended up not needing it so wide. There's a couple branding strips to the left there that are that same aqua color, so I'm trying to find some way I can incorporate those on this page. I just don't want those scraps to go to waste, and they're in the color scheme I'm trying to use, so I figured that was perfect. I also did just go through the cut apart sheet that comes in this collection. I'm really trying to make sure I don't have all of these left over at the end of the month. So I'm going through and trying to find anything that's in my color scheme. And there's this light red, I don't know if you would call that pink, maybe it is more on the pink side, but it just says happy, happy, happy. And it pulls in more of that reddish pink tone from the chevron, which I think is missing right now. There's a lot of the orange that's pulled out, but not so much that pink color. So I really wanted to balance that, and I think having this cut apart sheet really helps pull that color out. But I just went ahead and matted it on a scrap of that same kind of ombre, teal, and aqua geometric pattern, just so again it's balanced with the blue as well. So I have that I'm planning on being somewhere on the right side of the page. I'm not sure where yet. And then now I'm going back to the sticker sheet. There's a ton of stickers on the sticker sheet, so I'm really trying every page to get multiple stickers used up, especially because I'm going through this paper faster than anticipated, and there's still so much on that sticker sheet. Part of the issue is this collection is super cute. It's different for me. I'm not used to using Echo Park, but I really do love all the colors and motifs. But they're kind of themey, and that's a challenge for me because I usually prefer if things are kind of a literal representation, although I've been getting better at using things that aren't exactly on theme. But this is super themey. So like there's a bottle of glue over there, so there's like a telephone and a lot of things that it's kind of hard to not use them for something that I don't know. Like, I don't know, for a telephone, I feel like that doesn't make sense going on this page, but there's so much of that kind of motif stuff on there that I don't want to not get used. So I kind of figure out a way to pull that stuff into this page, and I don't know if it makes sense or not, but I found a way to explain it to myself to make me feel better about using it. So you'll kind of see how that goes. But I did pull in this little ombre tag that says the best that's in the color scheme. I think that's super cute. And now, again, I'm just using that polka dot scrap that I used for the banner on the page to do a little scallop. So I'm doing my little washi trick to trace a scallop, and I'll fussy cut that. I just wanted that color and that pattern pulled in somewhere else as well because, again, it's in the color scheme, and there's not a whole lot of it showing just in that tiny little banner that's on the page. So I figured kind of cutting an extra piece of that in a layer would work out. So I'm going to fussy cut that scallop. I'm planning that on going across the bottom of these layers and acting as a shelf for this happy, happy, happy to sit on, just so it's all cohesive and everything looks like it's supposed to be there. So I'm fussy cutting this scallop. Usually I like these scallops to be a little bit wider, but this is the scrap I had to use, so I'm just going to make it work. And it turns out okay. But I'm almost done with that, and then that'll get tucked up underneath all of these layers. And I'm trying to remember what I do next. I know I need to do a title. I could honestly just leave this as happy, 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 but I do want to explain these photos because this is in my album going backwards. At this point in time, you guys have seen I'm scrapbooking my time working for Cavalia Edicio, and this is a memory I really wanted to record. You'll see a couple pages like this, but this is my boss, Benoit, and he works with a lot of the horses, especially the younger ones who are not in the show yet, to kind of do desensitization, kind of build their confidence so they're not scared of the big crowds or anything once they start working in the show. So here are two separate photos of two of the Spanish purebred stallions. They're both 4-year-olds. The top one, I'm trying to remember who is who, because there's 3 or 4 of these younger stallions that aren't in the show yet that we worked with. But the top one is Trujo. We just call him True. And the bottom is Tio Pepe. And in both of these photos, we're kind of working on them on desensitizing them to different things they're going to have to be used to be in the show. And this top photo here, Trujol is in one of the bath stalls, and what we're doing, I don't know if you can tell, is Benoit has the hose wrapped over his back, and we're kind of rubbing the hose all around him just so he kind of learns that it's not scary. Because a lot of horses, I don't know if you guys have worked with horses before, they spook really easy, and they're big, heavy horses, and they can do a lot of damage just on accident if they get scared. So this is a really important part of their training, is to just do things like this where you're just rubbing the hose all over their body until they're like, oh, that's no big deal. That's not scary. The bottom photo is Tio Pepe. We're working with some of the farrier supplies. So there's this little stand here that the farrier will place their hoof on to elevate it so they can work on trimming their hooves when they need to be shoed and stuff like that. So you can see he's kind of we don't have Tio Pepe tied up. We're kind of letting him sniff and explore this little stand. So he can see, like, it's not a monster. It's just a thing that my foot's going to stand on for a little bit. And all this stuff does is just kind of build their confidence. And this way, when he needs to visit the farrier and he needs his hooves worked on, this isn't going to be a new thing that's scary. It's something he's going to be comfortable with. So yeah, I loved this part of the job, getting to work with these younger horses. And I did some horse training when I was younger too at the barn I grew up at, and it's just such a joy watching these horses build their confidence. They go from thinking something like this is a monster and it's the scariest thing ever to realizing that, like, oh, I was being silly. And I love seeing that confidence grow. So that's one of the things that I really wanted to record. But I did add some white and pink twine into that little tag. I finally tucked down this happy, happy, happy. And now I'm going in with those branding strips. They didn't really need to be added, but I was like, they're here. I don't want them to not get used. They're in the color scheme, so I'm sticking them on. So I'm just tucking one branding strip on either side of these layers just to add another paper layer. I think they end up looking cute. They weren't really needed, but I do like the end result of them being added. So I'm just getting those glued down right now. And then I do think I go through looking for a title, which takes a minute because the alpha I really wanted to use. The first couple titles I had in mind, I didn't have the letters for, but I ended up finding one that worked out okay. There we go, getting one down, and then the other. But yeah, that's kind of, I wanted to kind of say what these photos are about so that when I get around to embellishing, even though it might kind of seem off the wall, I can explain why I chose what I chose, because it makes sense to me now, having looked at it from that perspective. But here's the alpha sheet I'm using. I believe they're Amy Tangerine. They're not old thickers, but I've had them for a while. And I just thought this darker teal, it's a little bit darker than the teal that's in this collection, but I thought it was a good enough match to use them. So it's a good match to the darker teal that's bordering the happy, happy, happy. So that's why I decided to use it, but I'm just calling this Desensitization. I did not have an A, so I put a Y upside down. This font is very skinny, so I feel like I can get away with that because the upside down Y kind of does look like an A. So hopefully that's not too distracting, but that's the only letter I was missing, and I really feel like calling this Desensitization already, I can understand, oh, that's what we're doing, we're desensitizing the horses. So I'm going to get that down. And then what I decide to do, because I know I need a lot of journaling, I didn't really think about it ahead of time. I wasn't quite sure where I was going to journal. But thankfully, because I do have this wider aqua mat, I decided just to journal around the whole edge of the page, which worked out well because it gave me enough space to write what I wanted to say, but it's also not distracting from the design. But I have the desensitization down. I'm happy with that. So alphas are going away. And then I think I'm trying to see what else I can embellish with. I definitely need more. This is a good base design, but I still need some embellishment. So this is where I kind of go in and I see this chit chat. It's in the color scheme, but I'm like, how is this going to make sense? But that's one of the things with training, desensitization, horsemanship in general. It's a conversation between you and the horse. Most horses are pretty willing as long as they understand what you're asking of them. And that's kind of the biggest thing, is figuring out their language and getting them to understand what you want. So I felt like chit chat, and even including the telephone kind of works in that way. This is a conversation between Benoit and the horses, and we kind of just go off of their cues, what they're scared of, and start with baby steps to get them, you know, confident and not scared of it anymore. So that's why I decided to pull in the chit chat. Both of them and this telephone are in the color scheme. I don't know when I'm going to use them if I don't get them on this page. And looking at that in this way, I feel like makes sense. So I'm going with it. I'm going to pop the chit chat and this telephone up on some foam. And they're going to sit above this little happy, 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 kind of filling up that empty space in the corner. And hopefully that will make sense. But looking at it from that way, I think it works. So I'm going to use it so it doesn't get stuck in my stash forever. But I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and glue it down. And then I think I pretty much just have journaling. I know there's a finishing touch I will add, but I need to do my journaling next, I think. But I feel better having gotten those two stickers on here, because between those two stickers and this little "the best" tag, I think I used enough from the sticker sheet to say, like, okay, I filled my quota for this page using the sticker sheet. And I'm super happy because I feel like those would have been left on the sheet if I didn't get them used up while I could. So there we go. I'm looking for any final thing I might be able to pull in. I was looking at a couple of the arrows, but I decided I did good. That's enough. And now I want to figure out which color I want to do my journaling in. So I just pulled out 4 options there, kind of ranging from these oranges to these reds that are in this chevron. And I'm just trying to color match which one I think will look best to do my journaling in. So I ended up going with option 2, I believe, which is kind of a peachy orange, but I felt like it went really good with the chevron. And like I said, I'm just going to journal around the entire outside of the page. So it just says, I love this part of the job. Benoit works with the younger horses to desensitize and build their confidence to become show ready. Here, Trudrell is being worked with in a bath stall, and Tio Pepe gets some farrier practice. I love seeing these sweet boys learn and blossom into the confident stallions that they are. Benoit is a horsemanship pro. And then I just dated it. This was December 11th of 2011. And yeah, I've never worked with stallions before either. Usually when I work with horses, they're gelded, and so they don't have all that extra testosterone. Stallions have a reputation for being very moody, kind of flipping on a dime. They could be a little bipolar and dangerous because they're just bigger and, you know, have more behavioral issues, I guess you could say. It's the same with dogs. If they're not fixed, they can have some extra behavioral issues. Not that they can't be super sweet. There's plenty of dogs that aren't neutered that are super sweet. But it's kind of the same thing with horses. And so I was surprised that Cavalia had so many stallions. All of the horses are boys. There are no girls, which I think helps because not having the female hormones around, they don't get as triggered. But I thought that was very interesting when I was working with Cavalia, that they had all boys. Geldings are very, very sweet. Geldings are probably the sweetest out of all the horses. So it's kind of nice seeing that there were so many stallions that got along. But that's all I'm journaling down here. I think I'm almost done. There is one more thing. I'm kind of looking at the page, and even though these alphas are kind of in the color scheme and work really well with that one paper, it kind of looks just like it's not matching. So I did decide to go through my enamel dots and try and find a matching teal that matched this title. That way, if I could spread the enamel dots around, then that color doesn't look so out of place, because right now it's kind of distracting to me. So now that my title or my journaling is all done, I'm going through my enamel dots and just trying to find a matching teal, which I happen to find. And I'm just going to do 2 clusters of 3 over by the telephone and then over by the best tag. And I feel like having those 2 clusters and then the title that are the same color kind of create that visual triangle. And now my color, or my alpha choice, makes more sense to me. It doesn't look like a mistake because I was feeling like that color was the wrong color. But now I think it all goes together now with those enamel dots. And I think that's it. So here are the close-ups. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.